You've seen it on sandwiches stacked so high you can barely take a bite. You've had it with cabbage on cold winter nights, its savory aroma filling the kitchen. Corned beef, it's salty, tender, and instantly recognizable by that rosy pink color. But here's the thing, behind every bite is a process that's part culinary tradition, part industrial choreography. It's a journey that starts with a raw slab of brisket and ends with a product that can last for years on a shelf without losing its flavor. And trust me, the road from pasture to plate is a lot more fascinating and more precise than you might think. Corned beef has a reputation that spans continents. It's been a centerpiece in Irish feasts, a go-to in American diners, and a pantry staple in kitchens from London to Manila. You might know it from hearty sandwiches, paired with cabbage on St. Patrick's Day, or stirred into a Sunday hash. It's familiar, comforting, but the journey from raw brisket to that savory pink slice is anything but simple. Behind every bite is a carefully orchestrated process that marries tradition with the precision of modern food technology. It all begins with the meat. Not just any meat, brisket or round cuts are the stars here. They have the perfect muscle structure and fat marbling to handle the curing process without losing tenderness. The sourcing is deliberate. Some factories work closely with local farms, others buy from major beef producers, but all have the same goal: consistent, high-quality beef. Inspectors meet each delivery like gatekeepers at a royal banquet. They check the color. It should be vibrant and fresh, never dull or brown. They press lightly into the flesh to feel for firmness, ensuring the cut hasn't started breaking down. If it fails the test, it's rejected. Once approved, the meat moves into the trimming room. Here, butchers with practiced hands, or automated blades in larger facilities, shave away excess fat and any tough connective tissue that could interfere with texture. You can hear the steady rhythm of knives against cutting boards, the soft thunk as a piece of fat drops away. This step is surgical. Too much trimming and you lose flavor. Too little and the meat turns greasy after cooking. The trimmed beef then heads into a cold water rinse. The chill is sharp enough to make the surface of the meat almost shiver. Jets of water wash away any stray particles from processing, leaving a surface that's clean, smooth, and slightly glossy. In some facilities, the beef is given a short pre-soak in a light brine, a gentle introduction to the salt and spices it will soon meet. This step softens the muscle fibers ever so slightly, setting the stage for the transformation ahead. Then comes the real heartbeat of corned beef's personality: curing. This is where the magic happens, where a plain slab of beef starts its slow transformation into something that can make a grown adult weak in the knees at the smell. The term corned goes way back, referring to the big chunky crystals of salt, called corns, that were once rubbed into the meat by hand. Back then, this meant hours of rubbing salt into beef like it was getting the most aggressive spa treatment of its life. These days, we've traded the elbow grease for a more modern approach, a brining bath. Same principle, fewer sore arms. The brine itself is no ordinary salt water. Picture a cool, almost icy pool shimmering with dissolved salt, heavy enough to make the meat float just a little. Sodium nitrate joins the party, keeping that gorgeous rosy color intact, so your corned beef doesn't come out looking like it's been sitting in a damp cellar since last Tuesday. And then, the spices. This is where the air in the room starts smelling like the food court of an old spice market. Mustard seeds are in there, popping with a faint, tangy sharpness. Black peppercorns release their deep, woody aroma like they've been training their whole lives for this moment. Bay leaves add a fresh, green, almost floral whisper, and cloves round things out with a warm, sweet scent that makes you wonder if someone's baking cookies in the curing room. The briskets get lowered into the brine like VIPs slipping into a hot tub, though in this case it's cold, and nobody's ordering champagne. They'll sit there for days, sometimes a week, soaking in the salt and spices, slowly becoming the flavor-packed powerhouse we all know. And if you're imagining this happening quickly, think again. Curing takes its sweet time. It's like the beef equivalent of binge-watching an entire series in one weekend. Slow, immersive, and you come out completely changed. Workers lower the briskets into the brine, the liquid rippling as the cuts sink below the surface. They'll stay there for days, sometimes up to a week, in the cold, dark tanks. This isn't just soaking, it's a slow infusion. Salt and spices travel deep into the meat, drawing out moisture while replacing it with flavor. In some factories, needles as thin as toothpicks inject the brine directly into the beef, ensuring every bite tastes the same from edge to center. Even here, the pace is deliberate. Rushing the cure risks uneven flavor, but too long, and the salt can overpower everything. During this stage, the usual factory bustle fades into a low, steady calm. The brining rooms feel almost meditative. Cool air, still water, and that dim industrial glow from overhead lights. The stainless steel tanks line up like giant silver drums, each one holding its own quiet little transformation. You hear the occasional metallic clink of a lid being lifted, followed by the soft watery glug as a worker gently stirs or checks the beef inside. Somewhere, digital timers count down, each cut of meat on its own carefully calculated schedule. No rushing, no shortcuts, this is flavor on its own clock. When curing is finally complete, the beef doesn't just come out, it emerges. Firmer now, the meat has soaked in the brine's character from edge to center, every fiber carrying that spice blend it's been lounging in for days. The pink hue is unmistakable, like it's dressed for a formal dinner. Before cooking, it gets a thorough rinse under cold water, sending stray salt crystals, mustard seeds, peppercorns, and cloves tumbling away. The air is filled with a heady perfume of cured meat and warm spice, the kind of scent that makes you pause mid-step and take a deep breath before moving on. Now it's time to cook. This stage isn't about speed, it's about patience and control. The beef is loaded into large steam ovens or heavy kettles depending on the facility. Steam cooking is a favorite because it keeps the meat moist while allowing heat to penetrate slowly and evenly. As the hours tick by, the room fills with a deep, savory aroma, the kind that makes you instinctively breathe a little deeper. You can almost feel the fibers in the meat relaxing, becoming tender enough to pull apart with a fork. The temperature is watched like a hawk. There's no room for guesswork here. Too hot and the beef will tighten up and lose its precious moisture. Too cool and it'll emerge tough and undercooked. It's a delicate balancing act, and the operators know exactly when to make tiny adjustments. Some producers seize this stage to add one last touch, a careful sprinkle of fresh spices or a ladle of seasoned broth that seeps into the meat, deepening its complexity. Hours later, when the cooking is complete, the beef is eased out and allowed to cool just enough to handle, the surface firming slightly to make slicing or shredding smooth and precise. From here, the corned beef moves into secondary processing. For some batches, this means precision slicing. Machines with razor-sharp blades cut the beef into uniform slices so perfect they look almost printed. These slices are destined for deli counters, ready to be piled high on rye bread with mustard. Other batches are shredded into soft strands, the kind you find in canned corned beef or in recipes that call for a more rustic texture. The sound in this area is constant. The mechanical whir of slicing machines, the clatter of trays, the rhythmic hum of conveyors. Some producers go one step further and give the corned beef an encore performance, a gentle smoking session. Once cooked, the beef is transferred into a dedicated smoking chamber, where the air is thick with the swirling haze of smoldering wood chips. Oak, hickory, or applewood are the most common choices, each lending its own personality to the meat. The moment the chamber door closes, the smoke begins to curl around the beef, clinging to its surface and slowly working its way into the outer layers. It's not an overpowering blast of flavor, but a measured, delicate infusion, like slipping on a subtle cologne that lingers just enough to be noticed. The room smells rich, deep, and slightly sweet, the kind of aroma that makes you instinctively close your eyes for a second. If you didn't know better, you'd think you'd wandered into a gourmet barbecue pit rather than the final stage of a corned beef factory. By the time it leaves the smoker, the meat carries a whisper of campfire warmth that perfectly complements its cured, savory base. Once the beef has reached its final form, it's ready for packaging. This stage is a mix of science and precision. For fresh corned beef, vacuum sealing is the method of choice. The meat is placed in airtight plastic pouches, the air is pulled out, and the package is sealed tight. Without oxygen, bacteria can't thrive, and the meat stays fresh longer. In some cases, a bit of brine is sealed in with the meat to keep it moist. For canned corned beef, the process is a little different. The shredded meat is packed into sterilized cans with a small amount of brine or broth. The cans are sealed and then cooked under high pressure to kill any remaining bacteria. This makes the product shelf-stable for years, a reason why corned beef became a wartime staple and remains popular in places without constant refrigeration. The process is so thorough that a can could sit in your pantry for years and still be as safe to eat as the day it was packed. Hygiene here is non-negotiable. Workers wear protective coats, gloves, and hair coverings. Machinery is cleaned and sanitized constantly. The factory floor is designed so that raw and cooked products never cross paths, reducing the risk of contamination. Every package gets a label with its use-by date, batch number, and nutritional information. It's as much about traceability as it is about presentation. Once packaged, the corned beef heads to storage. Fresh, vacuum-sealed packages rest in refrigerated warehouses, kept between 0 and 5 degrees Celsius to lock in quality. Canned corned beef, on the other hand, sits comfortably in climate-controlled rooms at room temperature, ready for distribution. When the orders come in, the products are loaded onto trucks, refrigerated for the fresh, unchilled for the canned, and sent on their way. From there, corned beef fans in cities and towns around the globe are restocked. It ends up in local groceries, big box stores, delis, and export markets thousands of miles away. And every bite you take, whether it's a thick slice in a sandwich, a forkful from a can, or a steaming plate beside cabbage and potatoes, carries the result of this long, deliberate journey. It's a process rooted in centuries-old preservation techniques but refined with modern technology, ensuring that the taste you love is exactly the same every single time. So the next time you peel back a can lid or unwrap a vacuum-sealed pack, you'll know the story behind it. From the quiet fields where cattle are raised, to the cold curing vats, to the warm steam of the ovens and the hiss of the sealing machines, Corned beef is more than just a food. It's craftsmanship, patience, and history packed into every slice. And if you enjoyed walking through this process with me, let me know in the comments what food you'd like to see made next. Hit that like button if you learned something new, and share this with someone who'd be fascinated by the journey from raw brisket to the corned beef we all know and love.